There we go. I'm good. I'm rolling.
Oh, good. Are
I'm
you
good.
at your work office?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. There's the gym.
Cool. Kind of quiet today. Is it always quiet on Sunday?
Yeah, I prefer it. I told everyone. I kind of made a little announcement to all the people that come in Sundays. Like, if you guys are coming in Sunday and I'm here as a favor to me, wear headphones. Like, it's sensory overload after 6 days in a row.
Yeah. Oh, that's a cool idea. Quiet workout on Sunday.
Just wear headphones. Go crazy. Blast your shit. I don't care. Just don't. I don't
There's
want to hear
uh,
it.
there's these unfortunate CrossFit guys at Pacific, and you know they're there when you roll up in the morning and they've got three like matching jacked up pickup trucks, not jacked up, lifted
Yeah,
pickup
I know what
trucks.
you meant.
And then you go in and they have the worst playlist with the standard. It's probably something on Spotify that says like get after it playlist or something, or
Just
getting
like
it
thumping. Yeah, getting it in. The
getting
morning
it.
grind, rise and grind.
That's right, right, right.
Yeah.
Not an accurate representation of all CrossFit.
No, I would say that it's like everything else. It's the few seem to think they represent the many.
Yeah, the vocal few.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's get into it. We're gonna reflect a little bit on your kind of a turning point in your life, which we'll get to. But I guess to give a little context, it's a fight, or not even a fight really, a one punch.
Yeah. It could be. You could say it was a fight because that was the final, but that whole night was kind of leading up to it with these guys and um, So yeah, it was a confrontation.
Yeah. So we'll get to that since it was a confrontation. Some of my I have a couple of questions prepared, but I'm sure one or two of them will just spark more of a conversation. But so my questions are kind of based around that, the confrontation. Um, but I want to hear more about leading up to it, as far as as far as your personality goes, or how like getting into fights, or having being led by anger kind of informed your personality. So I want to start with just, do you remember the first time you got into a fight?
Like ever lifetime first time I got
Ever
into.
ever in your life?
Um, yeah, I feel like I do. Um, I don't know if it's the first. There was just I feel like there was a lot of early fights. So, as you know, there was the hill behind the bank we all sled on, and that was just all out warfare. So we'd go there every winter time, and after we stopped going with our parents to go and enjoy sledding, it became a place where you do one run on the sled and then just get in fights. So that was definitely the early stages. I remember really young, this guy Ryan Cole, who was this big stud. I remember he kind of roughed me up a little bit. We were the same age. He was just a really strong guy. Like manhandled me a little bit early. And then with our neighbors, Mike and Pat, we were best of friends. But then we're just kind of always weirdly getting into these altercations and stuff. And so I don't know the very first one. I remember the biggest ass kicking that I got. I guess that's always like the big one that sticks out like a sore thumb for me.
Yeah, what do you got?
So Ryan, another Ryan, coincidentally Ryan Lagana, who we've talked about this now. Good guy. We kind of stay in touch. He actually owns a gym in Syracuse, believe it or not.
The
But
only one.
yeah, RAW is the name of his place. Um, but yeah, I was a chirpy young guy, and he was a big monster, and he tuned me up pretty good at Lincourt Little League, right at the fields at Lincourt Little League outside of Syracuse, China. I remember walking my bike after I ran to get away. After I got my ass kicked, I remember walking from the end of our block home and just saying like, that's I'm never gonna let that happen again. And that didn't.
Was that the last fight you think or the last time you got your ass kicked like that?
Yeah, that was the last L I took for sure.
Because there's one that I was thinking of. Remember the kid with the hat? I think his name was also Nick, wasn't it?
No, he had with the Mullies night, right? Is that what you're thinking? Oh yeah, Nick Zaff.
Yeah, we might not be able to use last names. I don't know.
Sorry, I don't know. Yeah, it's probably stupid to use last names.
We can beep it. But okay. Ryan Lagana was kind of in a favorable light, but we don't know what the hell Nick's at. So.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. I'd bet $1. You said his last name again, by the way. So beep 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 beep.
Yeah. So this is one that I was thinking of. So what happened with this one?
So Nick, Nick was talking about Mom in an unfavorable way, as young boys tend to do, and he just got a brand new. So I remember late '90s, North Carolina came out with like the actual Tar Heel hats, and it was the footprint with the little Tar Heel. It was fresh, and he was super excited about it, and so enough was enough, and I ripped the hat off his head and I ran across the street because our neighbors had the gravel driveway.
Oh, the pedophile.
Was it?
That guy, well...
No, not the house set in the back, the one right across, the two-family across the street.
Yeah, a pedophile lived there. White Corvette.
Oh my god, I don't remember that. I didn't even know that. This is news to me.
Oh, wow. Probably some repressed memories. That's what
Fuck you. So yeah, I took his hat off and I did a little dance on it in the gravel and destroyed his hat. And then we got in a fight. I mean, we wrestled around. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I felt like I got the best of Nick in that exchange. And I remember Dad came home shortly afterwards. And I was emotional and I had like cut elbow. He got out of his car and he's like, "What's wrong? What's the matter with you?" And I told him what had happened, and he said, "Did you win?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Okay, good. No one talks about your mother except for us." And that was that.
That's one that sticks out to me as kind of like informing a later behavior or driving a continuing pattern of behavior.
Yeah.
Like having parental validation. Do you, when you have gotten into fights and stuff like that, do you feel like you're trying to prove something to yourself or prove yourself?
I don't know. I don't think it was ever about, I think it was more about proving myself, but also when I feel strongly about something, even now, if I feel strongly about something, I tend to not be emotional about decisions. I mean, this is now, not then. So now I feel strongly about something, I generally don't argue intensely on emotion. It's like things that are facts. Back then, if I felt a certain way, it definitely could have been emotional. And if I felt like your point was invalid or you weren't understanding, I was very quick to just be like, well, let's prove this the other way then, because I think you're wrong and you think I'm wrong, so let's just go. And I was very quick to just want to throw hands if I felt like there was a disagreement, or if I felt like someone was, any kind of disrespect, anything like that. I would, I was very quick. Never shy away from an altercation. So I don't think it was like trying to prove something to myself. I was thinking it was trying to it's all ego, right? Just establish myself as an alpha.
Yeah. I keep thinking since it starts to happen so young that there's maybe in boys there's a natural inclination, and maybe that's because it's inherent in people. Like there's a natural inclination to figure out who your enemies are and um, like band together with your allies and kind of warrior up.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a natural thing with people? Is that part of it?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all, and I think how, especially us, having two brothers, the three boys in the house, it's like we knew, still to this day know the lines. Like we can argue constructively and be fine and get through to the next one and learn from it or just have a debate. But there was always these lines that, like, if I did something and I knew it was always intentional, if I said something or you specifically would say something, like you knew that was the point. Like this will be the trigger. This sets it off. Like we
Yeah.
can argue and we can disagree and be fine, and then if I do this one thing, uh, it's gonna be on, and almost ignorantly feel like everyone plays by that same rule book outside of the three of us. So it's like arguing, disagreeing. When people do something, it's like, well, I feel the proper thing should be for me to punch him in the face because that's what you do when you cross that line, even though that line's not even recognized by the opposition or might not be. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and for everyone, it's so different because it's how they get brought up. But that was the big, when we discussed doing this, that was kind of, and you said you wanted to talk about beforehand. That was something that came to me more than once. Was this kind of different set of rules, but this feeling that we should be playing by the same rules. So my rule says that if you cross this line or you offend someone this way or take it here, then the result is we have to engage in fisticuffs.
Yeah, there's something in that's interesting to me. I guess again, it's kind of ego, but it's like the idea that you're the one that teaches the lessons. You dole out the lessons because when you go to hit someone, it's like they crossed a line it's in your mind. Um, so it kind of it comes from a place of superiority already. Um, I just find that interesting. Do you think superiority or inferiority were driving like some of those actions? And we don't even have to talk specifically about physical fights. I guess I'm more thinking about just overall like the types of behaviors that led up to a turning point in your life.
Yeah, I mean, it gets. I think it definitely. I don't know if it was inferiority. I always hung out with older guys, like older kids. I mean, since we were younger, all my friends have been older, and they still are. And I don't know if it's like speaking to inferiority, if it was me just trying to establish my place, feel like I belong with that group. And as far as superiority goes, we had an awesome childhood, so it's not like we had this militant household or anything. But there was our Penizado side is like very patriarchal. It's the older brother, so I felt like just being older brother in our house, I was instilled with that. It was just I was granted the luck of being first out, so I get so I don't even want to say superior because I never felt superior. I just always felt like it was a responsibility that I loved to have as like I don't know over guide, like next in line to dad, who was like dad. That's kind of how that's how I feel like I tried to think about it from like a younger guy, from pre like 16 and younger, 17 and younger, really. Just like being a man way before I was a man. I was a little boy little boy that wanted to throw hands. That's all I was. But I felt like I didn't know what it took, what those things meant, and it still is like the saying like be a man, is very important. It holds weight, but it's just having a skewed definition of what that means kind of drives when people disagree with you a certain way, or you feel like they've crossed a line, or they embarrass you. Like, okay, well then there's no choice. You embarrassed me intellectually, so now we have to fight. Like, I don't have a choice.
Right. Um, it's funny. I was kind of almost anticipating this as being like outlining an unhealthy behavior or an unhealthy mindset, which I don't think it's necessarily healthy to be like beating the shit out of people or anything, or in particular like bullying people.
Yeah.
But a lot of it sounds like, I don't, maybe it's just because we're from the same family, but it almost sounds reasonable to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. So what's not reasonable though? What I want to like I see it in my son. I see it in Leon, and just like the inability to manage that high level of frustration or anger. It's taken me 32 years to feel like I have some sort of say when it comes on. Not even control, because I don't even feel, but it's just the weird. It's You've all seen it. Like, you've all seen it, but you and Sammy and people that are close to me have seen me crawl out of my skin, and that definitely was like present early in the fights, for sure. Like this really intense, just emotion. Everything's intense with me emotionally, but that specifically frustration or anger or both would trigger this like physical response that just felt real real uncontrollable.
Yeah. I guess comparing it to like just an addictive behavior is just a compulsion that has a severe negative effect on those around you. Uh, but I know what you mean about that, like the feeling, the anger that comes on and like fills you up, and you need you need a catharsis. Like, now you need to release this in some way. Whoever is nearest will get that.
Yeah.
Do you think there were some other some other emotions or anything that were building up that were less acceptable to express, or like more of a taboo to express, so it kind of came out sideways in that way?
I don't know. I mean, I've always been quick to cry, as a boy, and you tried to stifle that, I guess, when you're younger. I don't give a shit now. I cry at every other movie I watch, but I don't know if that trying to like cover that up as a kid maybe definitely could have, but it never, like, trying to reflect on it, it never feels like it was present. Like the sadness never feels present. During the times where it got to like a physical altercation, it feels like it was anger, or it just feels like this guy's not gonna, something as simple as like, hey man, why don't you shut up? And then no, it's like, okay, well then we're gonna go. Like, let's do this. Let's dance.
Do you think that having some success in that way, just fighting, do you think that you adopted it as part of your identity?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's we got a lot of cool stories of dad like fighting and kicking, doing roundhouse kicks with guys in the embassy. Where that was, it Embassy Suites or something on New Year's or whatever that story is, or fighting the guys outside of his house. And
Yeah.
like, those are all cool, and they're still fun stories to hear. So kind of processing that a different way, and then the urge for me to want to be like one of the grown-ups, one of the men, the man, thinking like that is the path. That's where I get. I kind of feel like I went off the rails there for a second.
That's all right. I get the thing that, especially the story, bringing up the stories, like stories from our father coming down, and like the stories that he's telling at the time when we still view him as a god, in a lot of ways, are these like him winning fights kind of story, him being a successful warrior. Do you think that has an effect on how you view masculinity or what it means to be a man? So you, as you're growing up, you're kind of striving for that.
Yeah, I think in a way. But we were surrounded. I mean, Dad set he set a pretty good tone. The stories were there, and I think the stories were something that were always in the back of my head. So if there was a conflict with someone who was not close, I was like, well, this could be one of my stories, like these guys, whatever. And then you have your own tale. But for sure, the masculinity thing, I mean, it's obviously 2021 is a weird conversation to have, because there's the whole toxic masculinity thing. But I feel like Dad, when we were kids, was like what a man should be still, as a warrior. We didn't see it, like we didn't witness that side of it, but the stories, and then which doesn't necessarily have to be physical altercations as the warrior. Looking back now, it's just like overcoming something in adolescence and maybe a little older to get where you are. And those are all, it is what it is. It wasn't really overcoming. They were just fights, but you just view it that way as this big success. And then as a dad, like he worked, him and Mom provided, like they worked their asses off, still played with us, like taught us hard work, which carried through big time. And it's, being able to endure and do shit that you don't want to do for the better is kind of where the masculinity, and that's where I see it split, because then it becomes like fighting this person is going the wrong way. Like you have to be man enough to make a decision to not do this, because this is the opposite of what you're trying to do for the next step in your life and for those that care about you and you care about. So if you are a man, you're not going to engage with this person, because you're going to fuck it up. You're going to take yourself back, and you're going to put them in a position where they're not better off. And for looking back, like it feels like they did that pretty much. They sacrificed a lot for the greater good. That's how I always see it. So wanting to be like him in those ages where he told us he was fighting, I felt like that was most likely going to be the path to get me there. You try and just trace the steps as close as you can. If it's pretty cut and dry, that's where I want to go. So these are the steps that he told me would happen. So let's just follow those steps.
So, is there a point where this identity that you adopted stopped serving you, or were there other moments before the big incident where I don't know, you were kind of looking at it like this needs to change, or this is getting out of hand?
No,
I'm getting too old for this, maybe.
It was a bullet train, dude. It was getting worse. It was getting worse and worse. It was getting worse and worse, and just, I mean, from you, like, taking it backwards and looking at the steps, it was getting worse and worse because I wasn't on the path that I wanted to. So I just kept, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, just being stubborn and not taking a step back and realizing that my actions are not serving me. It's just like, no, this is the way. This is the way. Keep doing it. So work my ass off at a job I fucking hate, and on Saturdays or Fridays go out with Joey and find someone's day to ruin.
How did it get from this kind of almost noble idea of defending, of I don't know, when I hear you talk about dad or something, it's almost like defending his like girlfriend or defending our cousin at one point,
Yeah.
things like that, and um, or standing up for a belief. It goes. How did it get from that, those kind of noble ideas of what the noble warrior, to go out and ruin somebody's day?
Yeah. I don't. The transition seems it would. Joey's been my best friend for 15. How old am I? Freaking 33. So 20
40,
years. Huh.
42, I think.
Dick. Joe and I have been best friends for 19 years. So adopting him into the family, so to speak, as like we look out for each other. This is what you do. So, the night that it kind of, I guess there's a specific night that the tide turned, and it was I was at the bar in Tip Hill where all the underage kids go to drink, or used to go to drink. And at 19, we went in and had a big bar fight, and were successful. And there was four of us, and there was like 12 guys in the bar, and they were all seasoned drinkers. And these were guys that we knew from older kids that we hang out with. It was their older brothers and stuff, and we had a successful bout. It started with a guy saying something. Joe had an argument with his girlfriend, which no fucking surprise at all, because that was a regular occurrence. And some guy stepped in that had no relation to any of us. So my first instinct is to defend the tribe. So who the fuck are you? Like, let's go. So that night, being successful in that, it felt really good. Like, I remember the feeling in the car when Joe's dad came and picked us up, and we were flying high. Like, so then I think after that night, even though that night was for the right reason, in my opinion, the feeling that we got from that night was most likely the turning point. If I had to put my thumb on it, because like winning and together and warriors, whatever, however you want to think about it, but we didn't really stop after that.
So that's the moment it went from defense to offense.
Yeah, I think so. And then I always justified it as defense, even though I would never ever de-escalate a situation, which is part of being defensive. And before I would have, even that night, I tried to defend a little bit, or diffuse a little bit. Sorry, but then as soon as that night happened, it became like, oh, green light. There's my cue.
What do you think about the idea that you can't hurt somebody without hurting yourself?
I mean, I'd disagree. I don't know. Yeah, like hurt them. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you definitely can hurt yourself, but of all of the fights, I feel bad about one, because it was for nothing. It was bad, but otherwise, like, they've all got me to where I am. The Phillies night.
Oh yeah.
I still feel bad about that one.
This is like, I guess that comes from the concept, a spiritual concept, that we as human beings are all one. Do you believe that at all?
Yeah, so I think we're all connected. Like, I like the idea of energy, and we're all connected as one energy here, But I also think, it's the reason I don't feel bad about except for one, is because it felt like it was a willingful, like, we're engaging this together. It's sport. I'm not trying to kill you. You're not trying to kill me. I don't feel bad about you afterwards. Kyle from West Hill and I had a fight, and the second we were done fighting, we were friends again. So it didn't feel like there was all these little tests of whatever, if manhood or test your might or whatever it may be. But it felt like it was a willingful engagement from both parties. It never felt like we were getting the jump on someone. It was looking for the little cues as you continue fighting, like who's itching, so you poke a little bit and see if you can get something, a fire cooking, and then if that fire cooks, it's like, it's almost like hockey, like there's like a head nod, like we're gonna do this.
That's interesting. Almost as if you guys are serving a need, like in each other, or bringing, or yeah,
win or lose,
helping each other meet a need. That's really weird. Like, it's just weird to me because I guess I would consider myself a peaceful person at this point.
At this point, now that you're not armed with Sharpies and forks, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever, we don't have to get into that.
We can just say, I stabbed you with a fork. No big deal. I stabbed you in the ribs with a Sharpie, but it's not really a stabbing. It's with a Sharpie, it's a poking. I poked you.
You poked me with a Sharpie. That's fair.
Sorry about that.
Nah. I definitely earned it.
I guess you can't really say that I guess I couldn't say that was a man of peace then, just because I didn't fight, because my words, like, I'm pretty sharp with my words. I can be a fucking asshole.
Yeah, that's not even how I would describe it. You knew exactly what you were doing.
Yeah.
Stoking the flame.
But so being like a peaceful person now, and going through my life without any physical confrontation, really. There's some confrontation comes up all the time, but without any physical confrontation, it's been fairly easy for me to get on board with the idea that, like, if you're hurting someone else, you're hurting yourself, or that idea. But now you're kind of making me think about the idea of us all being here to learn our respective lessons, us all being in our respective bodies to learn our respective lessons, and these even fighting with each other. It's all part of that. It's all part of learning.
Yeah.
I'm just exploring that idea.
No, I mean, because and I'm not saying I'm right, but kind of you engage in that with, if I had lost any of those fights, like I said, I was mad at Ryan for a long time because I felt like I had a disadvantage, but I was a mouthy 12-year-old, and I learned a very valuable lesson that day. And now, we occasionally will have a conversation through, social media or whatever, and check in on each other because we have a similar business 1,400 miles away. And it's, as a little boy, and him as a, older boy, teenager, it's like I didn't understand the agreement. It's almost like the agreements that you enter into. So if I'm going to enter into a physical altercation with you and we're going to get to that point, and you warn me and I don't care, like you've now entered the point of no return. Not because I've dragged you here with me, because I told you that that's where we're going to go, and now we're fighting, and now that we're here, I'm not going to try and kill you, but there will be a victor once you walk away with your tail between your legs, which I did. He was the clear winner in that bout. That's where it starts. That's where it ends. Like, there is no, let's go band together and try and redo this as little weak boys. That was the lesson. You got taught a lesson that day. You entered this place that you shouldn't have gone. Don't fucking go there again.
Right.
Unless you're ready to handle what is thrown at you. And so, someone who doesn't like to quit, I wanted to go back there, but I just wanted to be ready to handle what was handle what was thrown at me. And like I said in the beginning, ignorantly thinking that we all abide by the same rule book or have the same code, even though that one is, I'd make a strong case that's pretty ingrained in a lot of us as far as just like overcoming any adversity goes. It's like you have an outcome that you don't like, you either don't do it again or you find a way to overcome it.
Yeah.
Don't complain to try and change the rules.
Right. All right. I think we kind of are setting the scene, not the scene, but the background. Also, I guess you've got some injuries in your hand. Just before we get into the fateful night.
Oh yeah, Rob, Big Rob. That was summer before my junior year of high school. Broke my hand getting in a fight. 2 plates, 11 screws. That was an evening.
You still have plates and screws in there?
Yeah.
Just another, this was a clear defense. This guy showed up at our parents' house.
Yeah, with 2 cars. Not even the guy that I was supposed to fight. His buddy.
Oh.
So that's this is the rule book that we don't, ignorantly, I feel that we should abide by. And we all kind of know the code. It's, for whatever reason, I feel like we all know it, even though it's not written down anywhere. It's like if I say I want to fight you, I don't send someone else to go fight you. That seems ridiculous.
Yeah, we get into, on our podcast, we get into a lot about an inherent moral code or an inherent code at all. It's murky.
Yeah, how could it not be?
It's hard to say whether it's real or not. Whether there is anything inherent or what exactly is driving a decision like that. Is it intentionally going outside of the code because you're scared, which is what it seems like to me, or is it you're just different? You don't have that. But anyway, so what happened? What was it? It was St. Patrick's Day, wasn't it?
Oh, the night?
The night.
Yeah, St. Patty's Day. So,
no, right?
Really set the scene for kind of this podcast and why I asked you to do this and everything. And I've been trying to reflect on this, for the past 4 years. I've been thinking more and more every year, St. Patrick's Day, how can I share this and maybe change the fate, or not necessarily change the fate, just make people be a little bit more present with their decision making. Because that's one thing I definitely wasn't when this all happened. I was present with my actions or thoughts or, across the board. So, but yeah, so I wanted to reflect on it. It's St. Patty's Day 2010. So, 11 years ago. 11 years and 2 weeks ago. So a while. I worked the morning at Mark's Pizzeria. And I remember leaving, and I picked up Ryan Cummings and a Mike's Hard Lemonade. I don't know why. We made fun of each other for getting them. And we drank them in the driveway at Mom and Dad's house. And I honestly don't remember. I feel like I left my car. I feel like I had my car at home, so he must have drove. And, we started on Tip Hill and made our way to downtown and had an exchange with these gentlemen on 3 separate occasions. And then on the fourth one, or on the third one, it was it was the punch that ended it all.
What kind of exchanges? What started the whole thing?
So the first one, we were at a bar, and I was saying hi to a girl who my friend Greg had dated all through high school. So I was close-ish with her, spent a lot of time with her, checking in, seeing how they were doing. And the guys didn't like it that I was talking to her. And, naturally there was no attempt to be apologetic. It was more like a fuck you, you're an idiot, like be gone. So there was like a little exchange. I think one of them, like there was a drink thrown, and I ended up getting kicked out of Mully's because there was a bit of a reputation that started to build.
You had a reputation.
Yeah, I mean, I'd been thrown out of Mully's like 3 times at that point already. So,
And just thinking back to the scene, like, so these guys possibly in their minds are thinking we are defending this person, or we're defending her honor, or maybe even our honor. Like if you're gonna come in and kind of pose a threat in the way that they think you could take this girl away, that hurts the dignity
yeah.
and honor. So they're feeling like they're defending that. But again, it's all takes place in the mind. Anyway, go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's all perception and what it is, and that, I mean, that's understandable. But so leave that bar, go to another place, leave. At that point, it's getting late. Phone dies, and I was the king and still am the king. Well, the second coming. I guess I'm still the prince of the Irish goodbye. Dad still holds the throne. He can disappear, like nobody else. But so I'm pretty much flying solo at this point with no phone, and downtown West Palm, no cabs. Get St. Patrick's Day, so I'm gonna walk. And the corner, I forget the streets now. Right across, oh my god, from Al's Wine and Whiskey Lounge. What's the parking lot right there? What's that? What are those crossroads? Can't think of that.
Is it Fayette and Clinton?
That sounds right.
You know where Clinton Street Pub is?
Oh yeah. I was leaving Clinton Street Pub. I couldn't think of the name. It's a trash bar, right? Like dollar shots and all that crap. Yeah. So, getting an exchange with 2 of the guys that were part of the group before, end up with a ripped shirt, like wrestling around the parking lot. Nothing serious came of it. Sheriff actually said to me, he's like, "Don't be an idiot and get arrested tonight," and sent me on my way. So, walking down Fayette, there's all 4 of them, and words start, and the big trigger for me, not that I wasn't going to fight, but the big one for me was, you don't know who you're messing with, I'm going to fucking kill you. And then when he said that, we engaged, and I ended up getting a fairly lucky punch off because I was falling backwards and just happened to catch my footing and hit him pretty square. And here we are.
Hit him pretty square. Like, what were the results of the?
Yeah, like if I had my arm was a foot longer, I feel like my fist would have went through the back of his head. It was the hardest I've ever hit anything ever. There was no give back from what I was punching through. It was the weirdest feeling ever. But he broke his nose, top 8 teeth got knocked out. Bottom 2 of his bottom teeth had to get knocked out. He had to get like a couple root canals and a bunch of stitches in the back of his head.
Because he
fell backwards.
Right. Damn, dude. 10 teeth?
Yeah.
Oh my god, you must have put your fist right into his mouth.
Yeah, I still have a scar from his tooth.
Oh my god.
That was crazy. That was a weird feeling. Having been in that many fights, there's no punch that ever felt like that.
Weird. Just soft.
Everything was giving. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. I thought he was dead. I mean, it was definitely scary.
So what did you do next?
Got the fuck out of there because there's 3 other guys. These are, not little guys. These are D1 lacrosse players, so kind of knew my situation. After they checked their friend, I don't think they're going to be all right with me just hanging around. So I got out of there, and I went towards Clinton Street Pub, and then I went like a block. I turned left and went a block, and then I was literally going to do what my original course was, and I was going to walk to Joey Quinlan's house. And then, so I'm going to go through, but go through a rough area, but I didn't have anything, so I can have my shitty phone or my $9 in my pocket if you want, and I guess all I got.
Right.
But in the mindset I was, and frame of mind I was, I didn't care about that. I just, whatever, I'm just going to get there. So I walked to Joe's house, and obviously before I got there, police showed up, and, I'm very compliant, put my hands in the cop car, and I asked him, sir, why am I being detained? I knew, but, like, he didn't see me do it. Like, that seems kind of weird. And he goes, for being a fucking douchebag. I was like, ooh. All right.
It's not very nice.
Yes, sir. No, sir. I didn't say anything else the rest of the time, except for a different police officer was there when I was in booking, and I asked if it was bad. I was like, is the guy all right? And he said, yeah, I've seen worse, but there's definitely a lot of blood. It's like, all right.
Oh my God. What's going through your mind?
I'm glad he's not dead. Was in that moment, I'm glad he's not dead. And then other than the arresting officer, they were all really nice, and they're all like, dude, you're going home tonight. This is bar fight. Like, you're good. And then they didn't let me go because they set a bail and everything and all that. Tried to get
What was the phone call home like?
called Dad. I can tell you exactly what he said. They didn't let me call, so I got arrested that morning. I didn't call Dad until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon the next day.
Oh my God! Really?
Yeah, no calls at all because there's a million people that got arrested because it's St. Patrick's Day. Bunch of fucking idiots. So I called Dad, and he's like, you got a dog, you can't just leave and disappear for a full day at a time. And I didn't say anything, just taking it. And he goes, you got arrested, didn't you? Like, talked himself into what could have possibly happened. Because that's not something I would do anyway. Like, I would just disappear for a night. Like, so, you got arrested, didn't you? It's like, yep. Fighting? Yep. I know this isn't the time, but I told you this was going to fucking happen.
Throw it a quick, I told you so.
So, but in classic Leo formation, he goes, what do we have to do? Like, what needs to be done?
Dude, the irony of, I'm not putting any blame on it, but it's just a funny irony, especially of, like, painting the whole picture of, like, again, going back to the nobility of fighting or defending your honor and stuff like that, and learning that from what you viewed as the pinnacle of masculinity, and then you call him on the night that you got arrested for kind of embodying that, to the negative side of it, the shadow side of it, and he's like, I told you so. I told you.
So in that same breath, he really did. So the one fight I do feel bad about was the previous fall when I beat the shit out of that kid, the Yankees and Phillies night, and pretty much just because he was a Phillies fan. And I mean, yeah, that was why I started it, but like, whatever. There's no point in defending it. I still feel bad about that. He was very capable and did a better job defending himself of any fight that I got in my adult life. Like, that was a fight. Like, even though the end result was what it was, he got some licks in, and I got a big split above my eyebrow because of it. Anyways, after that fight and Dad learning the details of that, the warning started to like kind of, you created a monster type thing.
Oh, I see.
So every time if he was like, you can get arrested, man. Like, the warning started to flow. So basically from fall of 2009 to spring of 2010. And I didn't heed any warning, just full blow. But, like I said in classic Dad, when shit hits the fan, all right, what do we need to do? What needs to be done? Both Mom and Dad. Like, what do we need to do? You're fucked. You're going to be in huge trouble at home, but, like, let's get you home.
Yeah. So I imagine they bailed you out.
Yeah, Yeah, what a mess. They posted bond. And to post bond, you have to basically put your house up. Like if I don't show up, they can take your house. It wasn't a flight risk, so I don't think mom and dad were concerned, but it's still a scary thing, and it cost $5,000. All I've been doing is working, so financially they asked what I needed, and I was able to pay the retainer for the lawyer. It's like $3,000, friends and family rate. And I asked if if they could help me out with my cell phone bill for a little bit in the beginning, because that's really all I didn't really have. I had many expenses. I had the Yaris and I had the phone.
The Yaris, dude. You were driving a fucking Yaris at this time of
the Yarpod, man. That thing. That thing owed me nothing at the end of it all.
It's just crazy, dude. At the time of going around fucking beating the shit out of people or getting in all these fights, and you're driving around in a roller skate.
That thing, dude, that thing was the best car. It really was. It was so cheap.
Yeah, I bet that thing got you laid a lot, huh? Or maybe not once. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think anyone got laid because they drove a Toyota Yaris. Because it's not even a hybrid. Like, what's your angle? It's good for the environment.
It's good. Yeah, that's right. That's it.
Oh my god! But yeah, that was the beginning, and that was the reckoning.
So, what were some of the initial reflections like? Were you thinking about like having to make a big change, or were you looking at your life and just thinking about where you want to be and how to put that in place, or what?
Yeah, I honestly don't feel like the reflections started to sink in until I moved, like, because it just felt like it was just going to be the same. Not necessarily my behavior was going to be the same. Like, I feel like I would have not continued fighting like I did, but just I felt like I was in a weird spot, like I couldn't get out of. Like I felt like I was going to be running a Mark's Pizzeria for the rest of my life.
So there's kind of an escape aspect to all the fights.
I think so. I just knew. All I knew was I hated school. Vehemently opposed to school. Like I just couldn't sit through a fucking class. Shouldn't say couldn't. I wouldn't. And I knew how to work really hard, but I didn't know, like, no patience and stubbornness was not a great recipe for the time of my life I was in, because I wanted to be more successful than I was, and I knew that this wasn't the path, but I didn't know how to get off the path, and I just knew that I had to work hard, and working hard was just spitting me back into this endless feedback loop. So I felt stuck, and I had no fucking idea how to not be.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, like, dude, there was a lot going on just in our family at that time. There was a lot going on, like, with me. That was right before I got sober. I got sober that year.
Yeah.
Mom and dad were in turmoil, but also not really telling us what was up. They weren't really talking to us about anything that was going on. So we just kind of were like, I don't know, we were kind of left with that. And Sam, I'm sure Sam was just eating a lot of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that period as being pretty tumultuous. And
yep.
So there's a lot of trying to escape. Yeah, escaping just your own thoughts about it, or having the idea like this, I didn't know this was going to be this way, or it shouldn't have been this way, or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair just to say that, because we're fairly resilient with that. Like it shouldn't be this way, but not knowing how to fix it, or what to do to fix it, or how to, like, take a step back and go the next route. I think that's where, for me personally, that's where I start to, even now, if there's a problem, I like problems and I like problem solving, but if I can't seem to find the solution, that's a major point of frustration for me still.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a guy thing. Not well, maybe not just a guy thing, but I know that when a problem comes up, it's less about like how am I feeling about this problem or what, and it's more about like, all right, what's the solution? Whereas with a problem that's inherently emotional, it comes up and you're just like, I don't. What are you supposed to do with this shit? There's not just an easy like, oh, you gotta fucking pay bail. You gotta like, whatever, pay the bail, hire a lawyer, and deal with the shit. It's
Yep.
like I just use that as an example. Um, anyway, so what was your? How long were you in town for after? I mean, I know you had to be around for the trial, right?
Yeah, so they lied basically the whole thing. My statement I gave to police, statement gave to my first lawyer, Joe, for the criminal case, and then when I got sued in 2013 or whatever the hell the court date was set for, that story never changed. His story changed every single time because he was trying to remember his bullshit, which in retrospect was stupid because he's still, well, it doesn't matter. But anyways, the timeline was the court case. So arrested on March 18th officially because it was morning. Made bail that day. Met with Joe Gorgoni like the day later, 2 days later.
Italian.
Yeah, awesome attorney. He was a great dude. And my court date was the last week in April. And then Mom took me on a trip to Florida that she had already planned. And I saw Grandpa. And then I went and hung out with Bobby Vinciguerra for 3 days. And just like, it was Cinco de Mayo. See? And then I remember we were driving through Juno Beach and we were talking about possibly moving here. And I feel like his mom was in the car. And said she could hook me up with a restaurant guy down here and talk to our mom about it on the way home. And then I was in the car on like May 28th. And I drove down with like $500 and a backpack, a duffel bag, and a computer, and my sweet Yarpod.
That. So you came down for Cinco de Mayo, and then by the end of the month you were moving?
Yeah.
Wow.
June 1st.
That's crazy.
Yep.
So what else have you been reflecting on? Is like the prevailing thought kind of about, I don't know, just one moment like changing the course of your life, or is it almost like a gratitude for that like difficult moment? What is?
Yeah, it's definitely it's weird. So the reflection and my struggle with it is because it's a weird thing that it's like this negative, like, oh man, the cliche would be like, look what happened, and look what he's doing now, and it's changed so much, and it's like, but how can that be reflected on as negative because I would never have left? I mean, I don't know that I never would have left. Maybe I would have still, but I have a wife and 2 kids and a business down here. Like, it's hard to look at that moment as negative, and it's hard to look at anything leading up to it as negative because it's all just little ripples.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Just the reflection is like, it's hard to say like why would you do it differently, or how can I how can I share this information with my kids in a way that's constructive? But like, I don't think my life could be better right now. So do I let them figure it out?
Uh,
Yeah, I know you don't have the answer. I'm just saying, like, that's the.
Dude, it seems like unfortunately yes, and that's something you learn like kind of in recovery as well. Because um, I mean, in with like drug addicts and stuff, it's kind of high stakes because you could die, but there's no convincing people before they're ready or before they experience enough pain to make the necessary changes. Like you just can't do it, so you have to let them be, and it's like it takes a lot of um, acceptance, I guess, a lot of and letting go. Just you gotta let go of these people. Um, just, but I guess man, it's got to be pretty difficult with like with your children. To think like gotta just let you be free to make your own mistakes, because it's scary out there sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, definitely guidance. Obviously, we got a ton of guidance and everything, but it's really just right and wrong, and live by what's right and wrong, and don't get sucked into the other stuff. And you just got to do the best thing, and make sure you're always, even though the best thing is sometimes the hard thing, or usually is the hard thing to do, or the right thing is usually the hard thing to do, you just got to do it. And
How do you know like that just right? When you say just right and wrong, it sounds so fucking so cut and dry, so simple. How do you know?
yeah, you have to really you have to have a faith in that moral code.
I like I've liked the idea lately of just um, being like the best version of yourself, and like the idea that the best version of yourself is available in this moment. And who would like if you believe in God, it's like, who would God have me be? Who would my creator have me be in this moment? And whether you believe in God or not, you could ask yourself that question as if there is a God, which is kind of more what I like, kind of how I do it. Like if there were a benevolent being, who would he have me be in this moment? And that's kind of helpful.
Yeah. So I mean, I was gonna bring up religion as well. I mean, the moral code and stuff. I like to, you're fairly familiar with obviously our how we were brought up. Went to Catholic school and everything, but I like to talk to my friends of all religions, but my Christian friends specifically, about things, just because I have some chops as far as what we learned in the Bible. And I'm not religious per se, like relative to these guys, but if you just, as far as like how to follow a moral code, it's like you can agree that the lessons are legit. So you don't have to prove the validity necessarily, but if you can just use something as a guide, you could use Star Wars as a guide. It's just, what lessons are you going to pull from it, and how you're going to translate it into your own life. Honestly, I got into a Star Wars rabbit hole like 3 days ago. I was like, it's like it's the lot of the Bible, and it's space.
Abe agrees with you. Abe's shaking his head yes over there.
But the lessons are all the same. So whatever. And I don't want that to be offensive for like against religion, but
Who's Jesus? Who's Moses? Who's Mary?
is that like trivia? Are we on? Am I?
No, I don't know. And who does Chewbacca represent?
Oh, like legitimately, it's not like. Shut up. Is that Abe? Is Abe feeding you questions? That feels like Abe's feeding you questions.
No, that's me just asking questions. I'm just having fun with it. I like to think that Chewbacca, even though he doesn't die at the end, he's Jesus.
That's wrong.
I'm pretty sure that's right because he's got the long hair.
So I honestly, I would make a strong case for Anakin Skywalker, even though there's not a. What did Abe say? The same thing.
Abe said the same thing.
Abe, let's do a podcast and talk about the relationship of Star Wars and the Bible.
Yes.
Okay, I gotta do more homework for that one, but I would be so down. I think we'd piss a lot of people off, but it'd have like the most listens of anything.
Oh yeah, that could actually be fun. I don't know anything about Star Wars other than the newest trilogy, which Abe insists is not canon.
It sucks.
I liked them.
They're terrible, Age. They're so bad.
Come on, they were fun. It was a good.
No,
time.
the first one was the biggest teaser disappointment ever. Episode 7 and 8 and 9 were trash.
Garbage.
I like Kylo Ren's helmet.
Garbage.
Yeah,
All right.
that's trash also.
All right,
Looks
all
like
right.
back to it. But yeah, you can use anything as your moral compass.
Dude, even I know you're probably not gonna like this because I know you're afraid of the Exorcist and stuff. But like the Satanic Bible, for example, it's not like I'm not a Satanist. Let me just be clear, but there's stuff in there that's like the same stuff, the same kind of idea. It's more of the human aspect, like do whatever you want. You're free to do as you please, as long as it doesn't have a negative effect on anyone else. Like that's an idea in that, and how you can't disagree with that.
That's a tough one to disagree with. I mean, what's the do unto others as you'd have others do unto you? Was that the golden rule we've been spit at for 33 years?
Yeah, who said that? Jesus or Satan?
I don't know. Joe Rogan has a funny bit that he goes into that ends up being serious, like when he's talking about being stoned on a boat and looking at dolphins. And like, what if that's another being? And what if we're all connected? So we should just treat other things like it's you and treat other people like it's just a version of you. And it's a comedy bit, but it's a super good point. Just like, if that's a version of you, a dumber version of you, if you think the person's stupid or whatever whatever negative emotion you have towards the person, if you're wanting to be negative, it's a version of you. Treat them as if it's you. Where I get into trouble is we can handle intense criticism and people cannot.
Well, some people.
I'm super comfortable saying people cannot. General statement. Prove me otherwise, because they're so soft.
I won't agree with you, but I can definitely see why you would make that point.
Yeah. And I'm also very intense. My delivery is not... Like, what the fuck's the matter with you is something that I say more than I probably should.
Yeah. We share that because I've been called mean a lot lately.
Yeah, not mean.
But
not mean.
Abe, am I mean?
I don't think so.
Abe doesn't think I'm mean.
You're not mean. You're an asshole, but you're not mean.
So I don't even know if that's right, because I think an asshole goes out of their way to do like little bullshit. I don't.
I think
No, you're not a real asshole. I'm just busting
think
your chops.
I'm Kurt.
Yeah. Schrute.
Schrute?
Dwight Kurt Schrute. It's his middle name. In case I was curious.
I like what you're saying though about Star Wars, and then it goes into I think that you can find the spiritual teachings or the ideas of morality in anything. Anywhere you look, you can find the lessons that you seek. You just have to be open. You just have to be open to it.
Yeah, and I mean, just speaking to that is being open to it, as in like surrendering to everything's more important to you, is like how I phrase it. no, it's like this. You have to live in a way to where what you do matters, but you're also, there's something way bigger. Like this is all part of a bigger picture. So if you don't, if there's no bigger picture, then you will be an asshole. Like you'll do things that you feel are right, but they'll be right for you. They won't necessarily be right for other people. So it's like, I mean, you said it. I kind of lost my way a little bit, but it's like you don't matter. Like this is not for you. This little piece, tiny little bit of sacrifice that you have to do to treat someone better or go out of your way to do a better job explaining. That's honestly how I get around the what the fuck's wrong with you. Mm-hmm. It's like this isn't about you. It's not them understanding at the same speed as you. It's like you spending the 45 seconds extra to explain this because it's not about me. It's about making everything better around you. In order to do that, you have to surrender to that. This is all one big picture and we're all connected. And if you have more information than someone else, don't be a fucking dick and just take a little more time to share that information.
Right. Instead of using the little bit of additional information that you have as reason, as justification for stoking your ego into a belief of superiority, just acknowledge that the information that you have was not always with you. It's not your privilege. It was given to you, probably freely. So, pass it on.
Yep.
You asshole.
You asshole. That was good, man.
Nice. Seems like the spot, right?
I don't know. That felt really good. Felt like a good spot to end. That was a good share. When you told me the other night we were going to go deep in the cuts, I was not super surprised. I was just like, I better do a little bit of digging before we dig live.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking about the stuff leading up to the punch, and there's a lot. It's really interesting to me to think about the like an argument for fighting, because that's kind of what you laid out. But then it's also there's a moment of caution in there because obviously you ended up hurting someone seriously rather than just like scuffling and finding your place in the world or like learning those lessons or whatever.
Yeah, and like not to of the big fight, the big one specifically, with the punch heard around the world, like, in my opinion, he broke the code. Like, if I told you I was going to kill you in that moment, the expectation needs to be that you're going to defend yourself with everything that you have, because I told you that I'm going to take life from you. And that's maybe I'm an old man and it's a generational thing, and, people don't think their words matter as much as they do, but it matters, and what you say matters. And not that I've learned plenty lessons along the way and whatever, gotten my ass kicked metaphorically and physically, but that's a lesson. Like, we were supposed to engage in this together. Like, you said words that were pretty universally accepted as we're going to engage in a conflict against each other, and you have to accept the outcome whether it's in your favor or not. And that's one thing that I felt like I always did. And those guys, some did, some didn't. So that's my big pitch for let boys fight relatively, like, within reason.
Yeah. I think, man, I got in some fights, mainly with family, like wrestling matches and stuff, and it's seems natural and right.
Yeah.
Roughhousing, I think, is good. But all right, man.
Cool, Juice.
We'll just wrap it up. I'll just after we get off the line, I'll add an intro on.
Okay. I'll send you this. I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna send this video, but I'll send it.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Do you have an email?
I think so.
Okay.
think so. Cool.
Nick, FaceTime me with the boys later. I
All
haven't
right.
seen you in a fortnight.
I will. I will for sure. Juice, this was awesome. Thank you, man. We can do this again too if whatever. We can talk about anything.
Yeah, if you come up with any philosophical questions that you want to pontificate with us, just let us know.
I will. And then Abe, I'm gonna start doing homework on the Star Wars / Bible podcast.
Yes, dude. I'm totally into that. That sounds awesome.
All right, very cool. I'm actually gonna bring it up with a preacher that I train 3 days a week.
Wow. Amazing. I'm excited to hear what he has to say about it.
He's either gonna yell at me or be cool. So we'll
Yeah.
find out. We'll find out tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
That's exciting.
Yeah. All right, gents. Thank you. This was great.
All right,
All right,
dude.
Nick.
Later.
Later.